Lighting has the power to change the feeling of a scene, and in this video I'm going to be showing you exactly how powerful lighting can be by taking a scene and bringing it to life 4 different ways. Also, make sure you stick around to the end because that is my absolute favorite one.
So this is our shot. The camera is relatively high up and it's looking down, and we've got this really cool parallel frame, and we have the lovely Angelique, and she's not going to be very emotive because what we're going to be doing, and the whole point of this video, is to show you how lighting can really change and make a scene come to life and give it a sense of emotion. So this is how the shot looks like before we've even done any lighting. It's just the natural light, the windows open. But with that being said, let's dive into that first setup. So we've set up our key light, which is the Amaran 300C with a reflector dish, and we're taking this light and shining it into the silver side material that came with this Wally Mex photo frame. And what this is doing is creating our sunlight. Now, in an optimal world, what we would be doing is using a stronger light and some CRLS mirrors or the Godox K1 mirror set to create our sunlight. And the reason why is because the sun is this very direct beam of light that fills the entire space. And so a light source, if you don't have the distance to move it away from the subject, you're going to end up having a very direct beam, and it's going to feel very spotty, very sourcey, as we like to say. So by doing this, it spreads the light, but also makes it feel a lot more organic. You can also use a white bounce, a white wall, some polyboard, taking some aluminum foil. All of these are little tricks that will give you roughly the same result at a budget. If you have the ideal scenario, great. If you don't, those are some hacks. Then we've set up these shears on a backdrop stand, and this is doing 2 things. One, because we can see the edge of the curtain in the frame, it motivates where our lighting is coming from because the audience sees bright light, curtains, oh, window. And then 2, these curtains are diffusing the light, and that is why we've left a little gap here. The diffused side is going to be darker, a little softer, but the middle is going to draw the attention to Angelique's face. And so this is helping us sculpt and shape our light to be more direct and intentional. Now let's move on to the last light of the scene, which is over here. And now the last light that we set up was this Amaran F22C with a full diffusion and a grid. And what this light is doing is wrapping the light around our subject to create a more soft and pleasing image. And that is because after I set up my key light, I didn't like how dark and contrasty it was on the shadow side. So I wanted to bring those levels up while still keeping the image very natural. And to do this, we obviously have the grid, which helps directionalize the light so that it's not spilled everywhere. We have the diffusion, which is also going to soften it, but also we have the light at a super low intensity, and we have it slightly higher so that we're able to get that wrap, but it's still coming from the same side as our key light so that it feels like it's one cohesive light source. And that's how we got this lighting set up. Now for the second setup, we've kept majority of the infrastructure we had from the first setup in place, except for 4 changes. Change number 1 is to our key light. Instead of having the Amaran 300C with a reflector dish, we now have it with a spotlight mount. Change number 2, instead of the light bouncing through a silver side reflector and hitting our subject, it's actually pointed directly at our subject at a high angle. Change number 3 is that we've done the exact opposite of what we did to our key light to our Amaran F22C. So instead of it facing the subject directly to create a soft wrap, we've actually removed the grid, faced it up to the ceiling, brought up the intensity so that it would raise the general ambience of our scene. Change number 4 is that we've added atmosphere to our scene using haze in a can. And this is going to influence the quality of the light, and therefore it has an impact on how the scene feels as it's being recorded. Change number 5 is we've actually changed the color balance. In the first scene, we wanted it to feel very neutral, very natural, so we had everything at 5,600 Kelvin. This time we want it to feel warmer, as if it's just the beginning of the day and the light is just peeking out. So we've changed the lights to 4,300, and this is how the scene turned out. Right, so for our third setup, we've gone the complete opposite direction of our first 2 setups. We've gone nighttime, moonlight, baby. So let's talk about how we dialed the setup in. Starting off with our key light. It is the exact same key light as the setup prior. It's still the Amaran 300C with the spotlight attachment. The only changes that we've done to it is that we've brought it slightly lower, and we've used the cutters to shape the beam of light. And then the final change, the obvious one, is we've changed the light from CCT mode to RGB mode, and we've dialed in this metallic blue. Now with the setup, we ran into the same issue that I had in the second setup, is because it's a hard quality of light, the transition between highlight to shadow is extremely noticeable and stark. And so to fix this, we've used the same solution that we did in the first setup. We took our Amaran F22C and we boomed it overhead just to wrap the light in a more pleasing manner on our subject. Now, we are using the grid just so that I can still keep that directionalism and not have the light spill everywhere. And because of Sidus Link, I was able to take that color temperature that I dialed in on the Amaran 300C and just use that as a preset for the Amaran F22C. And the final cherry on top of the
setup was this little MC Pro that we put in front of the phone. Now we dialed this in at 4,400 Kelvin at an extremely low temperature, just so that it was lighting our subject's faces, adding some color contrast and drawing the attention of the audience to her. So that is the setup. Right, so for the final setup, I was heavily inspired by this frame that I saw while scrolling Shot Deck from the series Euphoria. I just love the greens, I love the oranges, I love how gritty and moody it feels, and I wanted to try and create that in the setup. Now, I'm not trying to recreate that frame one-to-one. I would have failed immediately because of the shot being completely different, but I wanted to try and emulate that feeling. So let's talk about how I tried to do that. From setup 3 to this one, we've changed exactly 3 things. Number 1 is we changed the color of our Amaran 300C and our F22C. We went from that deep blue to this green color, and I love it. Then we turned on these practical lights here in the background that are motivating the orange of our scene. Now, obviously, I know you can't see them in that shot, but if we were to shoot this as a whole scene, my justification is that eventually you would have seen those practical lights and that orange light would have been motivated. However, those practicals, whilst being motivated and giving me a beautiful warmed color, they're a little bit too weak. And that brings us to change number 3, which is amplifying those practical lights using an Amaran P2C. And now I put it in the middle because we have the practical lights on either side, and so by having it in the middle, it was creating an even spread of light on our subject. And that is how we created this look. And we basically, to be honest, really only changed a few key elements and how the light hits our subject, and we've gotten 4 different looks. And that just shows you the power of lighting. So I hope you found this video useful and helps you on your next shoot. Till then, I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.